Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, I'm KingNido, and today we're coming in from Ula'ula Island where the Macros are desperately trying to end their 6-game losing streak. They have not been able to win a single game this season, but to do so they're going to have to take down the Veilstone Breakers, who are on their own losing streak, having lost their last 4 games. Today something has to give, unless we end up with a draw, but that's only happened twice in the PokeType League. So with that said, let us know in the comments below who you think is going to win. Will it be the Steel types? Will it be the Fighting types? Let's go!
3, 2, 1, go!
And the Macros are trying to start out with 2 of their best performers, including their terrestrial draftee, Phalanx, who is alongside Berserker. They are going up against Persimmon and KingNido, starting out for the Veilstone Breakers. But as we've said, somebody has to end their losing streak here today, surely, as Phalanx is immediately going to go on the offensive with the rising voltage onto Persimmon, getting some good chip damage. But Persimmon responds with a super effective fiery dance, doing massive damage there to Phalanx, boosting its own special attack in the process. But Berserker is going to respond with the Mega Kick, getting some great damage there on the Persimmon. KingNido responds with the Fairy Lock, making it so no one can run away during the next turn. But none of these Pokemon are looking to go anywhere, as Phalanx does respond with the Ice Beam onto KingNido, getting some good chip damage. But it's left it frozen solid here on the field. Persimmon is going to have to do the heavy lifting until it thaws out, going with the Astonish, getting some good chip damage onto Phalanx. But Berserker is going to respond with the Worry Seed onto that frozen KingNido, giving it the Insomnia ability, getting rid of its sheer force. But KingNido needs to thaw out here, but it is still frozen solid. This is fantastic for the Ula'ula Macros. They can focus in on Persimmon as we get the magic powder from Phalanx, now changing KingNido into a psychic type. They are just messing with this Pokemon here, as Persimmon going with the acupressure. It is going to boost its physical attack a great deal. It's already base 120. We get the bulk up in response from Berserker, boosting its own attack that's base 110, as well as that 100 base defense, and KingNido is still frozen solid on the field. This allows the sticky web from Phalanx to be set up as an entry hazard for the Veilstone Breakers. Persimmon is going to go with the Psy, Shield, Bash, but Phalanx is able to hang on by a thread from that not very effective move. A defense boost for Persimmon in the process. An Ice Beam once again from Berserker, this time onto Persimmon, trying to leave it frozen solid, but it is unsuccessful. But what is still happening is KingNido is still frozen solid. Persimmon's in knockout range, but it's on the receiving end of a Venoshock from Phalanx, giving the early lead to the Ula'ula Macros, and Berserker with an opportunity to follow up with the Misty Explosion. And it takes out Phalanx, but it doesn't take out KingNido, taking out itself. It's just given the Breakers the lead. I think they wish KingNido was still a fighting type, but Phalanx has fallen at the hand of its own teammate, as a frozen solid KingNido is just left there on the field by itself. And the Macros sending out Magneton. It is going to be Hitmontop for the Breakers, and Bastiodon joining Magneton there, as that sticky web is caught around Hitmontop, lowering its speed. Magneton is going to go with the Fury attack, but that is going to be avoided by Hitmontop. But what is not avoided is still KingNido is frozen solid on that field. Hitmontop needs to do its part. It goes for the Aurora Veil, but it is not snowing, even though there is a frozen Pokemon there. Bastiodon with the Energy Ball onto Hitmontop, getting some chip damage there. Magneton with the follow-up Venoshock, and again more of this onto Hitmontop here, leaving KingNido still frozen solid. Is this Pokemon ever going to thaw out, as Hitmontop with the Brine on to Bastiodon, super effective, getting some good damage. Bastiodon responding, more Fairy Locks happening in this matchup, but again they're not looking to go anywhere, and we hope you aren't either, as Magneton is going for the Rock Tomb, getting some chip damage onto that frozen KingNido, lowering its speed. Hitmontop with the response, going with the Yawn on to Magneton, so it will grow drowsy. It will eventually fall asleep, but before that happens, we get the Mega Drain from Bastiodon, taking a little bit of health there from KingNido, getting a bit of its own health restored in the process. As KingNido, the slowest on the field, is still frozen solid, and it's been since the very start. The Psychic from Magneton on to Hitmontop, takes it out of this match with that super effective move, leveling the playing field between the two sides, and Bastiodon following it up with the guard swap onto Conkeldurr, who needs to thaw out, switching all changes to their defensive stats between the two, but Conkeldurr still frozen in this match. And Magneton now has fallen asleep as entering for the Breakers. It is going to be Hariyama who gets caught in that sticky web now, lowering its speed here on the field. And as Magneton is fast asleep, it is going to be Bastiodon following it up as the Macros have full speed control, going for that tickle onto Hariyama, lowering those physical stats, including that 120 attack that Hariyama has. It is going to respond with the Psycho Cut, doing very little damage to that heavily defensive Bastiodon. But finally, Conkeldurr has thawed out. It goes with the Power Gem. It's immediately going on the offensive, and it does practically nothing to Bastiodon after all that waiting. But still asleep on the field, it is Magneton here. Bastiodon looking to do its part, going with the Thunderbolt onto Conkeldurr, putting it into knockout range. Hariyama responding with the Fiery Dance onto Bastiodon, who has that part rock type. Unfortunately for the Macros, there is the special attack boost though for Hariyama, and we get the dual wing beat from Conkeldurr, but that is avoided by the sleeping Magneton, who has now awoken, and this does allow it to go with the disarming voice onto both members of the Breakers, and Conkeldurr has been taken out of this match after spending so long frozen solid. The Night Slash follow-up onto Hariyama from Bastiodon, not very effective even with that critical play as well. Hariyama is going to respond with the double kick, massive damage even with that first kick onto Bastiodon, causing it to chow down on its Lancer Berry, and even though it's getting pumped, that doesn't matter because it has been eliminated from this match. And following those two connections, we are down to a 3 versus 3 contest between the Macros and the Breakers, still trying to end their losing streaks. It's Hitmontop for the Hitmonlee for the Breakers. It is Sliggoo in its Hisuian form for the Macros. Hitmonlee's speed being lowered thanks to that sticky web. Magneton with the Bulldoze hits everybody on the field. It's super effective on its own teammate, lowering the speed of Sliggoo, who is going to chow down on its Enigma Berry though. They must have known it was holding on to that, as it does almost get itself back to full strength. The speed being lowered for Hariyama and Hitmonlee in the process, as well as Hitmonlee is going to respond with the Healing Wish, and it's going to take itself out of this match. There's only 2 Pokemon now remaining for the Breakers as the Macros take the lead. The Sandsear Storm onto Hariyama. Hariyama's able to hang on after that damage from Sliggoo. It is going to chow down on its own berry, which is that Staff Berry, allowing it to boost that special defense, and Hariyama is going to respond with the Psyblade onto Sliggoo here. Again, not very much damage being done with that, but that gooey ability lowers that speed once again of Hariyama, who is now being joined by Toxicroak, being caught in that sticky web. And this allows Magneton with that speed control to go for the flail, and still Hariyama hanging on. Toxicroak looking to capitalize, going with the circle throw. This is super effective, massive damage, putting Magneton into knockout range, but it does send it back to the bench and being dragged out onto the field. It is going to be Metang, who's also a part psychic type. Sliggoo is going to go with the Leafage onto Toxicroak, not going for that easy elimination of Hariyama. This allows Hariyama to respond with the Powder Snow, connecting with both steel types, not very effective onto Metang, who does respond with the Psy Shield Bash, but Toxicroak is able to get out of the way of what would have been massive damage. A topsy-turvy here from Toxicroak onto Sliggoo. It is going to invert all of its stat changes, including that speed drop, allowing it to go with the Eruption in response, taking Hariyama out of this matchup. Toxicroak is all by itself. The Macros are so close to ending their 6-game losing streak, and with the Iron Tail from Sliggoo, it takes Toxicroak out of this matchup, and the Macros have done it. This is the first game they have won since last season of the PokeType League. And this could be the start of the momentum they are hoping to build, as next round they are going up against the Castelia Pinchers. Whereas for the Breakers, that is now 5 games in a row they have lost, and they are going up against the Spikemuth Rockets next round. But until then, Nidorinos. Thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below who you thought was the best on field, and if you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, you are awesome, and I'll see you when you see me.